The room was quiet, the walls lined with silver blue stone, glowing softly with energy lines from a forgotten age. A dozen alien scholars sat in a circle, their robes shifting like smoke as they whispered among themselves. They called this place the Hall of Legends, and inside it they studied myths that had no proof stories so old. They were thought to be fantasy. Today they discussed the most dangerous legend of all, humans. They never existed, said Scholar. Yurlon, his scales flickering dark purple, the color of doubt. What? They did, replied an older voice. I've seen the ruins on Vex-9, human architecture. Strange symbols. Their design is like no other. But ruins mean nothing, Yurlon said, waving a clawed hand. We have ruins from ancient beasts too. That doesn't mean they were intelligent. Besides, there's no living proof, no language, no culture. Just stories passed down by primitives. Another scholar, the silent one in the back, leaned forward and said, there was a time they ruled systems, destroyed empires, and then vanished, wiped out by their own madness. That's the story. They were too violent to survive, Yurlon muttered, if they ever did. Suddenly, the stone walls around them shivered. A sharp hum filled the air. A young assistant burst into the hall. His breathing was heavy, his eyes wide with fear.
Allergies.
Elders, he said, but you need to see this.
Act.
The scholars hissed, annoyed by the interruption. But the assistant placed a hologram disc in the center of the chamber. A blue mist shimmered into the air, forming the image of a small mining colony on the edge of the Rethen Belt. Explosions rocked the colony. Buildings shattered. Defense turrets melted. The sky filled with streaks of fire and black metal. Alien voices screamed, panicked and hopeless. And then the attackers appeared. Sleek, sharp warships with long, aggressive lines. Black holes with no markings, no known symbol. But one thing stood out. The lead ship paused in front of the colony's final transmission drone. A signal blinked from its hull. It was short, simple, and terrifying. The words were written in Earth Standard English. We remember. The hologram ended. The room was silent. Not even a breath. Yurlon stood slowly. That was fabricated. No, said the assistant. The signal was verified. It came through 3 channels. It happened 2 hours ago. It's possible, one scholar whispered. That language is dead. Another whispered, maybe not. Then the silent scholar at the back, the oldest among them, stood. Bring me. Captain Kess, he said. Tell him to go to the Rethen Belt. Find out what really happened. Captain Kess stood on the edge of the docking bay watching the stars. His ship, the Obsidian Wing. Waited behind him a lean vessel built for stealth and speed. It was Trilok, tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors with his mood. Right now, it was a steady storm gray, calm but watchful. He hated being summoned by the assembly. They were too slow, too proud. But when he saw the hologram footage, his skin went pale blue shock. He didn't speak. He just nodded once and left. Within hours, the Obsidian Wing was jumping through hyperspace, heading to the remains of the Rethen mining colony. What they found was nothing short of horrifying. The colony was gone. Not damaged. Gone. As if it had been erased. A thin cloud of dust and metal fragments hovered where buildings once stood. Black scorch marks were all that remained on the moon's surface. Kess floated silently in his command chair, his claws tapping. The side rail, no heat trails, his navigator said. No engine signals. Whoever attacked. They vanished without leaving a trace. That was impossible. Scan deep, Kess ordered. Look for any anomalies. They searched for over an hour, then the sensor officer gasped. Captain, I found something on the far side of the moon, inside a crater. Show me. The ship rotated slowly, and the front cameras zoomed in. There it was, half buried in moon dust, a plate of metal. Carved into it letters, sharp, deep. Kess stared. We remember, he read out loud, in Earth's language. Silence filled the bridge. The young helmsman whispered. Are they? Act. Kess didn't answer. He zoomed out the camera view. Right behind the metal plate, in the shadows of the crater wall, he saw the remains of a camp. Not alien, human tents, human tech, long dead. But the camp was new. It hadn't been there more than a week, and then his heart skipped. A small drone sat nearby, still powered. Still warm, Kess ordered it brought aboard once in the lab. They carefully hacked into it. Inside were only 2 files. 1, a recording. 2, coordinates. He played the recording first. The image was grainy but clear. A human face. Female. Dark hair. Pale eyes. Calm voice. "This is Commander Alara Cade. If you've found this, then you know we've returned." She paused. "We're not here to conquer. Not at first. But we remember what the galaxy did to us." The assembly watched as Earth burned. They let our enemies erase us. But we survived. In silence. In shadows. We built. We prepared. Another pause. And now, we've come home. The screen went dark. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence. Then the sensor officer asked, "Should we report this?" Kess shook his head. Not yet. He turned toward the navigation display and entered the new coordinates. It pointed far into uncharted space, sector known only on ancient star maps. "We're going," Kess said. "We're going alone." Back at the assembly, the scholars argued again. Some wanted to call an emergency war meeting. Others demanded it be buried, declared a hoax. Yerlan refused to believe it still, but the oldest among them watched the stars in silence, speaking only one sentence to himself. If humans are real, then we are in danger. Because he remembered the last human, war from the old scrolls, and he knew what followed when humans said we remember. The storm was coming, and it wore a human face. The refugee ship tumbled through space, its engines failing, its hull scarred with burn marks and deep weapon strikes. Lights flickered across its outer shell like a dying creature gasping for breath. It drifted toward the peaceful planet of Corvallis Prima, world known for art, peace, and perfect skies. Inside the ship, there was only one survivor. Her body was bruised. Her breathing was shallow. Her name was Kira Yan, and she was just a cargo clerk from a small colony in the outer rings. She activated the emergency beacon with her last ounce of strength. Before blacking out, she whispered 2 words into the recorder. "There, human." Then everything went dark. The orbit station above Corvallis Prime picked up the ship within minutes. Rescue drones launched. Medics brought the girl into care. Technicians pulled data from the ship's recorder, expecting a malfunction or a pirate attack. But what they found was something far stranger. The ship's last. 45 minutes of footage played in silence. Dozens of black warships emerged from a ripple. In space, no lights, no broadcasts. Just weapons. They hit the colony in seconds. Orbital defenses didn't react in time. The attackers moved like they knew every weak point, every angle. Buildings vaporized. Communication towers sliced in half. Escape ships destroyed before they even left the ground. And right before the footage cut out, one of the warships passed directly over the colony's central tower. The camera zoomed in, barely catching it. A white symbol on a black hole, not a flag. It's just a single word, Earth. The technician's hands shook as he paused the video. "That's impossible," he whispered, back at the Galactic assembly. The footage spread like wildfire. Still, most leaders laughed it off. Pirates, one said, with a flair for drama. "It's impossible that Earth design still exists," said another. "Their fleet burned out 10,000 years ago." Even Scholar Yerlan, now seated on the Assembly's Emergency Council, scoffed. "Don't let fear rule logic," he warned. "These are clever tricks. Someone wants to make us believe the humans are back, but the truth is simple, they're not. This is misdirection. Political theater." But one voice stood against them. Captain Kess. He had returned from the Rethan Moon, and now he stood before the council, his skin pale blue with cold anger. "I saw the plate," he said. "It was real," I heard the message. "Commander Alara Cade, human, alive, An actor, Yurlon snapped. Or a clone. No, Kess said louder. It's them. You need to listen. You need to prepare. But they wouldn't. The assembly voted no action, no alert, no military mobilization. They claimed panic was more dangerous than shadows. Kess left the chamber that day, disgusted. He didn't know it yet, but the next attack would prove him right. 2 days later, the planet, Tensor 4, went dark. No warning. No distress calls. Just silence. A patrol ship passed by the region 12 hours later and found a ghost. Planet, every building gone. Every satellite gone. The air itself felt wrong, scorched in a way sensors couldn't explain. Only one thing was left, floating. In low orbit was a drone, painted matte black. On its side, burned into the metal, were 2 words in Earth English. Stand down this time. The assembly couldn't ignore it, but it was already too late. Kess stood again in the war chamber, pointing to the growing list of attacks. 3 colonies lost.
Our one world
wiped clean. They don't take prisoners. They don't explain. They don't negotiate. They only leave messages. And those messages, said the council speaker, they speak of memory, revenge, and Earth. The council remained quiet. Then finally the oldest scholar who had said little before stood. I believe him, she said. And if he's right, we must prepare. Some nodded. Others still didn't believe. But behind closed doors, the assembly ordered secret investigations. Quiet alerts to border worlds, stealth probes sent to the outer systems. What they found shocked them in 3 separate ruins. Worlds long thought uninhabited, they discovered ancient. Structures human-made, activated, operational. Someone had been there recently. Someone was awakening old Earth technology, and inside one of the ruins, deep below the surface of a moon, they found something worse. A beacon, broadcasting non-stop in a long-dead Earth frequency. Its message was simple. Phase 1, complete. At the edge of the galaxy, in a dark field of broken asteroids, a fleet of ships stirred. They were old, but not weak. Their designs were unlike anything the modern galaxy used. Bladed wings, cloaked engines, magnetic armor plating that shimmered in void black metal. They had no crew, only AI. They were the Ghost Fleet. Built in the final years of the Old Earth War, hidden away for the moment humanity might rise again. That moment had come. The fleet powered up. One ship at the center blinked to life. Its core pulsed red. A voice spoke inside its command chamber. Cold. Human. All systems ready. Targets locked. Orders confirmed. The Ghost Fleet vanished into hyperspace. No sound. No trail. Only purpose back in the assembly's central. City Captain Kess reviewed the new data from the ruin beacons. Each one was counting down. Not randomly. Together. A single time code, slowly ticking. Kess narrowed his eyes. It's a timer, he whispered. But for what? The answer would come in 6 days, and when it did, the skies of 20 worlds would go black. In the final scene, across multiple planets, alien children looked up into the sky. Stars disappeared, replaced by the growing shadows of unknown ships, and from hidden speakers, broadcasting in every known language, came a single chilling phrase. Your legends were true. Humanity lives. Then silence. The invasion hadn't begun yet, but it would. And this time the galaxy wouldn't forget who humans were. The stars vanished like dying candles. People on distant worlds stared at the sky as the black shapes appeared massive. Silent ships with no signals, no IDs, no warnings. They just hovered, watching, waiting. Panic swept across cities. Traffic froze. Communications overloaded. Military outposts scrambled fighters, but no one dared make the first move. The ships didn't attack. Not yet. They only sent one message. Over and over, we remember. Captain Kess watched the scene unfold from the command deck of the Obsidian Wing. They'd intercepted the transmission early. Now he replayed it in silence. Every major planet within the inner systems was under silent occupation. No violence. No demands. Just presence. But Kess had seen war before. This was the calm before the fire. Get me satellite views from Hestara. He ordered. The images came through in seconds. Massive black ships hovered over Hestara's largest cities. Triangular shapes. Low orbit. Still, Kess pointed at one of them. That one was in the Rethan belt footage. Second officer frowned. But that ship was destroyed, wasn't it? Kess didn't answer, because deep down, he knew what this meant. These weren't new ships. These were the old ones. Far away. On a broken moon near the Veil Nebula, the ruins of an Earth command station powered up for the first time in over 9,000 years. Dust blew off ancient walls as the floor lit with red emergency lines. The room had been silent for millennia.
Ow.
It buzzed with quiet energy. Inside, an AI voice spoke. Ghost Fleet activation, 87% complete. Final war directives unlocked. A holographic image flickered to life. A woman in an old Earth Command uniform. Her nameplate read, Commander Alara Cade. Her message played automatically. If you're watching this, then the failsafe worked. They wiped us out, but they didn't finish the job. You thought humanity was dead? Forgotten, but we don't forget. The hologram glitched, then resumed. We placed the Ghost Fleet in dark space. We trained in secret. We bred in silence. And now, we've returned. We won't attack first. But if provoked, we will erase the ones who betrayed us. The Galactic Assembly was in chaos. Half the members begged for talks. The other half called for war. Yurlon stood at the front, pale and shaking. We need to shut down their systems, block their signals, shoot down their drones. An older scholar slammed his fist. And what happens when they retaliate? Well, they've already taken position over 20 systems. They all attack at once. They haven't yet. Yurlon shouted. That's the mistake. We wait. We die. Kess stood. In the shadows, watching the panic spread, he leaned close to his officer. Record everything. The moment this council makes a mistake, we'll need the evidence. What are you planning, sir? Kess didn't answer, because right then a new alert sounded. The black ships were moving. One ship orbiting above. The trading moon Jexer 3 slowly dropped through the atmosphere. Its hull reflected nothing. Its engines made no sound. Civilians ran for shelter. Military forces scrambled to respond. Then the message came. Not text, not voice. A vision, every screen, every implant, every link, suddenly pulsed with raw human memories. War, betrayal, death, the destruction of Earth, the silence that followed, and the rebuilding images of underground cities, distant stars. Children learning to fight before they could read. Humanity didn't just survive, they evolved. When the vision ended, the black ship released a beacon that floated slowly to the surface. Written in glowing Earth text, we didn't forget. And the ship returned to orbit. It had delivered its message. The ghosts were here in secret. On a remote planet known only to the old Earth archives, Commander Alara Cade watched the events unfold through hundreds of live feeds. She stood before a glowing map, her face calm but focused. Phase 2 is complete, said her AI assistant. Any response from the assembly? They're still arguing. Right. She smiled bitterly. Some things never change. Another officer approached her. Are we ready for war? Alara shook her head. No. That's what they expect. We're going to do something they fear even more. That will remind them why they feared us in the first place. She stepped forward and tapped the map. Send the Ghost Fleet to the dead ring. The officer blinked. That's a graveyard. Nothing's there. Exactly, Alara said. But they'll follow. And when they do, she didn't finish because her plan didn't require force. Just fear, back in the assembly. Panic turned into command. Yurlin finally got what he wanted. Warships were dispatched. Orders were signed. Official announcement was made. Engage. The intruders, drive them out. But Kess didn't move. He sat on the bridge of the Obsidian Wing, staring at the war order. We fire on them. We start a war we can't win. His crew waited, sir. Second asked. Do we stand down? No, Kess said. We follow them, quietly. Let the others make the mistake. He punched in new coordinates. The Ghost Fleet just jumped. To the dead ring, we go after them. The skies above 100 worlds burned as warships prepared to fire, but the Ghost Fleet was gone, silent, invisible, waiting because the next move didn't belong to the galaxy, it belonged to the ghosts. And ghosts are patient, they remember everything, and they never forget who betrayed them. The Dead Ring wasn't a place people visited. It was a graveyard, a field of shattered moons, lost colonies, and silent war wrecks from a battle no one even remembered anymore. But now, something moved inside it, a black fleet, the Ghost Fleet. Had arrived with no sound, no signals, no lights, just presence. And the entire galaxy was watching. Captain Kess stood on the command deck of the Obsidian Wing, staring at the swirling debris on the view screen. He had followed them quietly. Stealth mode. Engaged. Radio silent, no weapons charged. What are they doing? The second officer asked, eyes wide. Kess narrowed his gaze, waiting. What? Inside the Dead Ring, the Ghost Fleet spread out like a spider web. Ship positioned, with purpose. Some hid behind asteroids. Others drifted slowly in open view, and then they stopped. Dead still. No threats. No weapons deployed, just their silent watchers. But deep inside one of the warships, a massive one shaped like a blade commander Alara. Cade stood in her control chamber. She watched the enemy warships gathering outside the field. Hundreds of them. The Galactic Assembly had sent nearly every battle-ready cruiser they had. Ilara turned to her AI officer. Status. All ships in position. Cloaks at 94%. Weapon systems locked, but not armed, and the bait. The AI tapped a control panel. Ready to transmit, Ilara stepped forward. She looked tired, but not weak. She looked like a soldier who'd waited too long to be heard. Play the signal, said. At that moment, every ship in the Dead Ring received a transmission. It wasn't words. It was video, raw, unfiltered footage. Thousands of hours from Earth's final days. Cities burning, children running through ash, alien ships in Earth's skies. Assembly troops on the ground executing Earth's officers, signing the exile orders, and then silence. The long, bitter silence of extinction. No one had seen this footage before, not even historians, because it had been erased. But the Ghost Fleet had saved it, and now we're broadcasting it to the galaxy. On the Obsidian Wing, the crew stared in horror at the scenes. Kess clenched his jaw. They're not just soldiers. They're witnesses. His second nodded slowly. They came to show us what we did. Kess turned away from the screen, and the assembly's about to fire on them. For listening. Are the other fleets there? Charging weapons. Kess's voice was sharp. No one fires. That's an order. Back near the edge of the Dead Ring, the Assembly's strike fleet locked onto the ghost ships. Admiral Thoros Cold. Ruthless, efficient stood ready. There. Showing propaganda, one officer said. It's not propaganda, another whispered. It's history. Theros didn't care. Orders are orders, she barked. Target the center ships. Fire in sequence. Hit hard. No warnings, ma'am, her tactical officer warned. They haven't attacked us. They will. She snapped, and we'll hit them first. Back on the Obsidian Wing, Kess's sensors flared. They're charging weapons. His officer shouted. Kess pounded the console. Open a channel. Warn them. It's too late. In the blackness of space. The first energy bolts launched bright streaks of death slicing toward the Ghost Fleet. The shots hit home. Explosions rocked 3 ships, but no return fire came, not yet. Inside Alara Cade's ship, alarms screamed. Officers stood by weapon stations. Return fire? Hooray asked calmly. Lara shook her head. Not yet. Another wave of blasts hit. 4th ship shattered. The Ghost Fleet still didn't fire back. They just let the galaxy watch. Let them. See, let them remember. But the 3rd volley is too much. A missile tore through the command wing of a cloaked drone cruiser. It exploded. and with it, the balance broke. Commander Elara's eyes darkened. She turned to her officers. Phase 3. She said, "Begin." Within seconds, the Ghost Fleet vanished from sight, their cloaks reactivated, not to hide, but to move. They slipped through debris, danced between wrecks, dodged incoming fire like whispers in the dark, and then, without warning, they struck one by one, silently, swiftly, deadly. They didn't fire heavy cannons. They didn't destroy cities. They disabled. They cut engines. They fried targeting systems. They left enemy ships drifting blinded, helpless, alive. The message was clear. We could have killed you, but we didn't. Single quotes. Back on the Obsidian Wing, Kess watched in awe. The Assembly's war fleet had been neutralized in minutes. No deaths. No destruction, just cold, perfect power. They wanted us to see this, he whispered. They wanted to show us what they're capable of. His second officer looked shaken. They're ghosts, and we tried to shoot them. Kess stepped forward. Send this footage to every system. No filters. No edits, sir. Let the galaxy decide who the monsters really are. Far away, in a darkened room inside the Assembly's central station, Scholar Yurlan watched the entire battle unfold. No one spoke, not even the Warhawks, because the truth had hit harder than any weapon. Humanity was back, not for war, but for justice. And they were smarter, faster, more united than ever before. Elara Cade stood silently in the center of her command chamber. Her ship hovered above the disabled enemy fleet like a vengeful ghost. Her voice echoed through every speaker. We are the forgotten. We are the broken. We are the ones you erased. But we never died. We rebuilt. We remembered. And now, so will you. The transmission ended, and just like that, the Ghost Fleet vanished, leaving behind only silence and fear, and the truth. War hadn't started, but the galaxy now knew it would never be the same again. The galaxy didn't sleep after the Ghost Fleet vanished. Every major world was on high alert. Civilian networks replayed the transmission on a loop. Politicians shouted over each other. Military forces called it a defensive encounter. But the people didn't believe that anymore. They had seen the footage. They had seen what was done to Earth. And they had seen how the Ghost Fleet struck not to kill, but to warn. That changed everything. Captain Kess hadn't left the command deck of the Obsidian Wing since the battle. He sat in silence, rewatching the Ghost Fleet's message. His second officer, Arlen, stood behind him. Sir, we've received a private signal. Unknown source. No coordinates. Only one word in the subject line. What is it? Kess asked, without looking away. Arlen swallowed. It says, Parley. Deep inside a hollow asteroid that had once been a smuggler's den, a small shuttle waited. Kess landed quietly, no backup, no escort. He knew it could be a trap, but something told him it wasn't. He stepped into the dark, and she was already there. Commander Elara Cade stood in the shadows, not in armor, just a black cloak and a worn earth pendant around her neck. You came, she said calmly. Kess nodded. You asked? They stared at each other. The silence between them was long and sharp. Lara finally broke it. He tried to stop the others from firing. Kess didn't flinch. I saw the message. I believe it. You're the first, she said. But we need more. The two sat across from each other at a dusty metal table in the center of the old asteroid base. Elara placed a small cube on the table. It glowed softly. This is every record Earth managed to hide, she said. Before the exile, before the purges, names, locations, plans, you have to show it. They won't believe me, Kess said. They already think you're lying. Lara's voice dropped. Then we make them listen another way. Kess narrowed his eyes. What way? She leaned forward. We hit the archive. The archive wasn't just a place. It was a fortress, built by the assembly centuries ago to hold and protect their official version of history. No one questioned it until now. Inside the archive, billions of documents were stored, digital, physical, encrypted. If Earth's history was buried anywhere, it would be there. And now, Lara wanted it opened. Not hacked, taken. Kess returned to the obsidian wing, eyes dark with thought. His crew gathered on the deck, sensing a shift. "We're changing course," he said. "To where?" Arlen asked. "To the archive moon," Kess replied. "But that's assembly territory fortified." Protected, Kess cut him off. "We're not going in alone." In the void between star lanes, the ghost fleet appeared again. Not in battle formation, in silence. 3 ships, no lights, no threats. They waited for the obsidian wing, and when it arrived, they aligned perfectly, like old allies, like wolves circling a fire. The archive moon floated above a dying star, protected by 5 orbital cannons and a shield grid so powerful it could stop an asteroid. But it had one weakness. It had never been attacked, and the ghost fleet had studied every inch of it. From the shadows they moved, black ships gliding past. Satellites, cloaked drones mapping every turret. Inside the archive, guards laughed. Who would attack history? That was their mistake. Kess's team landed first. Their mission? Disabled the shield grid. No weapons. Just stealth. They slipped through air ducts, disguised as maintenance workers. Ilara's team followed next, using forged IDs and voice cloaks together. They reached the central server core. The data locked inside was ancient. Real. Raw footage of Earth's betrayal. Assembly orders, signed and stamped. Proof, everything. Ilara stared at the files with glassy eyes. "We were never meant to survive," she whispered. Kess nodded. "But now, the truth will." Just as they prepared to transmit the data across the galactic web, an alarm blared. The archive's defense systems woke up. The stealth field had failed. Turrets locked on. Sirens wailed, and the voice of Admiral Theros rang through the speakers. "This is an illegal breach of assembly property. Surrender, or be eliminated." Ilara didn't flinch. "We don't surrender." She pressed a button, and the ghost fleet struck. Explosions rippled across the archive. Moon's outer layer as cloaked fighters tore through the defenses not to destroy, but to distract. Inside, Kess's team fought their way through security. Drones, buying Ilara time. She reached the central broadcast tower, sweat on her brow. She placed the data cube into the terminal. The lights turned red. Upload started, and across the galaxy. The truth went out. Billions watched as sealed records flashed across their screens. The true story of Earth's fall. The lies told by the assembly. The humans they left to die. The ones who never did. The archive moon's power core exploded seconds. After the upload finished, the ghost fleet vanished again, but they left the galaxy changed. No more rumors, no more myths. Humanity wasn't just real. They were smart, organized, and not afraid. Back on the obsidian wing, Kess sat alone in his quarters, staring at the broadcast as it looped. Ilara's face appeared at the end, staring into the camera, her voice steady and calm. "We were erased, but we remembered. You should have remembered too." And the screen went dark, but no one watching ever forgot, and the Whisper Pact had begun, quietly, an STOPPA bly, just like ghosts. The assembly lost control the moment the truth was broadcast. Planets across the outer rings cut their communication lines. Old human colonies, long hidden or thought destroyed, lit up with secret signals, and on dozens of worlds, people gathered. In silent crowds, staring at the truth they were never meant to see. Earth had been betrayed, and the ones who came back, they were not the monsters, they were survivors. Admiral Theros stood inside the Assembly's command chamber, surrounded by silence. Dozens of military leaders stared at the looping transmission, Earth's last moments. The exile orders and the Assembly's purge of human history, no one spoke. Theros finally did. Who leaked this? A nervous aide answered, "It came from the archive moon, ma'am, just before it was disabled." "You mean attacked?" Theros snapped. "Ma'am, the facility's gone, but the data is everywhere now. We can't stop it." She turned sharply toward the others. "Then we crush the ghost fleet before the message spreads further." "But it already has," another general said, eyes down. On the world of Vena, a factory city run by the Assembly, workers had been silent for centuries. Human descendants lived like shadows, working long hours, forbidden from speaking there. Origin allowed. But now they stood in the central square. One man climbed a tower, holding up a burning flag of the Assembly. "We remember Earth." The crowd roared. They weren't afraid anymore. The rebellion had begun. Back on the Obsidian Wing, Captain Kess watched dozens of new signals light up his star map. Human fleets, secret enclaves, even a few alien allies, all moving, all angry, all "Awake now? They're rising," Arlen whispered. Kess nodded. "And it's spreading faster than we thought." He turned to the screen and opened a secure channel. "Alara, it's time." On a hidden moon base, carved into the bones of an old warship, Alara Cade sat in a command seat built from salvaged steel. Her eyes were locked on the same map. More red dots appeared every minute. All loyal to Earth, all angry. She opened the reply. "Kess, I hope you're ready, because this won't be a whisper anymore." Kess responded, "It's a scream now." The Assembly moved fast. Theros deployed ships to known, rebel worlds. She sent drones to the cities where unrest had begun, and she launched a campaign to discredit the ghost fleet, calling the footage fake. The humans dangerous? But it was too late. No one believed her. The people had already made up their minds. And then something unexpected happened. An alien race stepped forward. The Tanara silent traders. Always neutral, broadcast their own message. "We were there when Earth fell. We remember. The ghost fleet speaks the truth." That broke the Assembly's hold. The galaxy was listening now and choosing sides. The ghost fleet launched raids across key assembly systems, but not to destroy. They hit weapons depots, power grids, and comm relays, disabling them before fleeing fast. Quiet, controlled, they left behind banners in old Earth English. "You erased us. We are still here." Kess and Alara coordinated from hidden bases using ghost networks and encrypted jump points. Every day, more allies joined. A rogue AI collective from the Jern sectors, a band of exiled pilots from the Endoris belt, even defectors. From within the Assembly military it was working. Hope was spreading, but hope always comes at a cost. During a mission on the mining world of Solonex, a rebel team was ambushed. Commander Juno, Alara's closest friend, was captured. She fought until the end, but was taken alive. Now she was a prisoner, and the Assembly had leverage. Theros wasted no time. She broadcast Juno's capture publicly. "Turn yourselves in," she said, "or she dies." Alara stood in the war room, fists clenched. "We can't give in," she said. "We knew the cost." Kess paced behind her. "But if we let her die, we send a message, one that says we're heartless, we're at war." Yes. But not with each other. Silence fell. Then Kess said softly, "We get her back." Alara looked up. "How?" With the whole galaxy watching. The rescue mission was bold, reckless, and fast. The prison was on a fortified asteroid, but the Ghost Fleet had one advantage. Support. They didn't need stealth this time. They had help from the inside. Defectors opened the outer doors. Local miners shut down the power grid. Civilians jammed the assembly sensors. When the Ghost Fleet arrived, the people cheered. The rescue was chaos, but it worked. Juno was pulled from her cell. Just minutes before execution, the prison collapsed behind them. Alara and Juno embraced aboard the ship. "Eyes hard," Juno whispered. "They're scared." Alara nodded. "Good. They should be." On the edge of assembly space, Theros received the report. She read it once. Then again, the prison was gone. Juno escaped. Civilians had helped. It wasn't a rebellion anymore. It was a war, and Earth was winning. As the stars above shimmered with new battle lines, one final message appeared on thousands of screens, from Alara herself. You tried to silence us. You erased our history. But we never left. We are Earth's children. We're coming home. The war for truth was over. The war for freedom had begun. The Assembly's control began to crack, not with a bang but with silence. Whole sectors went dark. Their warships didn't answer calls. Trade. Routes stopped moving, and the once proud symbol of order, the Assembly's golden emblem, was torn. Down from government buildings across the mid-rim, the truth had poisoned the system from within. Now it was collapsing. Admiral Theros stared at the black map floating above her command table. Half of it now blinked in red, rebel-held, defected, silent. The other half, stable. Even her loyal officers were whispering now. She knew it. They feared the Ghost Fleet more than her, and worse. Some admired them. Theros turned to her aide. What's the status of the homeworld? Fortress systems are holding, he said, but several city sectors are rioting. There was an explosion in the lower dome. She sighed sharply. It's happening faster than expected. Then she leaned forward, whispering to herself, Earth wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Thousands of light years away, in the shattered orbit of what was once a forgotten Terran colony, Lara Cade stood in the command deck of the rebel flagship. Honor-bound, the map in front of her lit up every second with new defections. Allies were flooding in, and still it wasn't enough. She turned to Kess on the holodisplay. We take the core now. We strike at the heart. Kess didn't hesitate, and we do it together. The plan was dangerous, reckless, perfect. They would divide the Ghost Fleet into 3 wings. 2 would strike Assembly defense hubs to draw their fleets away. The third, led by Alara and Kess themselves, would breach the Assembly's homeworld defense. Grid dot, their goal. Shut down the master command signal that held the automated systems together if they succeeded. The Assembly's fleets would go blind, and the war would be over in ours if they failed. The rebellion would shatter. The operation began with light. The Ghost Fleet launched from a nebula field. Using the charged particles to blind sensors, the first wing attacked a weapons foundry near the Elux border. It worked. Assembly destroyers left their posts. The second wing targeted a relay station. More ships left to respond. Illyra's path was clear, almost the homeworld of the Assembly. Axion Prime, like a silver crown floating above a white marble planet. Its defense grid pulsed with electric arcs. Turrets tracked all motion. It had never been breached, until now. Illyra's ship, cloaked in interference, slid into orbit. Then came the first complication. We've been spotted, shouted her helmsman. One of the station's AI nodes activated. We've got minutes. Kess's voice came through. Go fast. Hit hard. They launched boarding pods like THUNDERBOLTS. The battle for Axion had begun. Inside the command tower, Theros stood alone. Her generals had abandoned. Her staff had fled or joined the rebels, but she still had control of the master signal. She pressed a red button. 1,000 turrets turned at once. Drones launched. War AI activated. She whispered into the microphone. Let them come. Alara hit the ground hard as the boarding pod crashed into the outer wall. She and her team cut through steel, tearing open doors. They didn't fire unless fired upon. Even now, they weren't here to kill. They were here to end it, floor by floor. They fought. Plasma bolts lit the halls. Sparks rained down. Soldiers surrendered. Some even helped. And still, the door to the signal room held firm until Kess arrived with a breaching charge. Let's finish it, he said. Inside the command core, Theros waited with a single pistol. Alara entered slowly, his eyes sharp. They stared at each other, no words. Then Theros raised the weapon and dropped it. I was wrong, she said. Alara didn't answer. She stepped past her and pulled the signal key from the command terminal. She inserted her override code and turned it. Every screen in the system went black. Turrets froze, drones fell from the sky. The assembly, Warfleet, scattered across space, blinked out silent and blind. The war was over. Kess walked in beside her. "It's done," he said. "No," Elara replied. "Now it begins." All across the galaxy, people watched as the assembly seal faded from every station. In its place appeared a single symbol: Earth's sun, surrounded by 12 stars. The lost children had returned, and this time they would not be erased. From the ashes of betrayal, something new was rising. A union not built on fear, but on truth, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The skies above Axion Prime were quiet. For the first time in centuries, no warships circled the planet, no drone patrols, no blinking warning beacons. The stars looked peaceful again, but down below, everything had changed. The assembly was gone, and Earth, once a forgotten myth, was now the center of a rising storm. Elara Cade stood on the central balcony of the old assembly tower. Now stripped of its golden banners, in their place flew the new symbol, a black sun on a silver field, Earth's rebirth. People filled the streets below, not just humans, but dozens of species who had joined the cause. They didn't chant, didn't cheer, they just stood, watching, waiting, listening. The sois echoed. Across the plaza, we were exiled, forgotten, lied to. She paused. But we survived. We returned, and we remember. She raised a small piece of metal, rusted and sharp-edged. A part of an old Earth ship. This was found in the ruins of our home. Proof we were real. Proof we mattered. Then she held it high. We are Earth's legacy. And this time, we write our own future. In the control room, Captain Kess watched the broadcast replay on screens across liberated worlds. Every colony, every station, every outpost heard the message. Some wept. Others stood in silence. Even old enemies watched in silence. Something new had started, and no one could stop it now. Later that day, in a small room under the tower, the first meeting of the new council began. Elara Kess, Juno, and representatives from alien factions who had risked everything to fight beside Earth. They didn't trust each other yet. They didn't agree on much, but they were here together, and that was enough. Outside the core systems, the remaining assembly, warlords fled into deep space. Some tried to rebuild their fleets. Others hired mercenaries, but the people no longer followed them. Even without battles, the war was over. The idea of Earth had already won. Back on Earth's ruined surface, repair crews walked through ashes and twisted metal. Robots lifted collapsed buildings. Drones reactivated weather systems. It would take years, maybe generations, to bring Earth back. But it would happen because people were returning. Ships lined. The Orbit family stepped out in silence, touching the soil for the first time in 300 years. Children played between vines and rubble. One boy knelt, brushing dirt off an old metal plate. Letters carved into it, barely visible, United Earth Defense. CORPs turned to his mother. "What's this?" She smiled through tears. "Our beginning." Kess and Elara walked through the ruins of an ancient city, New Athens. Once Earth's last stronghold, they stopped at a shattered memorial. The names were faded. Elara touched one of them. "My grandfather's name is here," she whispered. Kess nodded. "Mine too." They stood there for a long time. No words, just silence. Later, they sat in the command deck of the Obsidian Wing. Orbiting Earth, Kess looked out at the blue and green below. "I never thought I'd see it like this again." "You almost didn't," Elara said. "But we made it." She nodded. Barely then, quietly, Kess asked, "What now?" Elara smiled slightly. "Now we build. Now we lead. Now we protect what we should have never lost." The stars outside twinkled. The ship turned toward the unknown in the far reaches of the galaxy. Beyond old assembly space, something stirred. A probe caught a signal ancient, encrypted, impossible, from beyond known space. One word, origin. The screen blinked, then went black. A new mystery. A new threat. Or maybe something even older than Earth itself. But that would be another story for now. The defenders rested. Earth was no longer forgotten. Humanity was no longer erased. And the legend of the Ghost Fleet had only just begun.